Okay, here's your quiz for lessons 1.2. If you're at home and you're doing this, you pause it now, take the quiz, and then we'll deal with this. All right, so you should have a red pen out. All right, number 1 says write a variable expression for how many days are in X number of weeks. Well, hold on, let's talk about this. If I said how many days are there in 3 weeks, what's the answer? What's the answer? 21. How did you come up with that? Multiply what? 7 times 3, because there are 7 days in each week, right? So you take 7 and you multiply it by the number of... You take 7 and you multiply it by the number of weeks, right? If I said how many days are there in 5 weeks, you would take 7 times 5. If I said how many days are there in 10 weeks, you would go 7 times 10. So then if I said how many days are there in X weeks, the rules don't change. It would be 7 times X. So the answer for number 1 is 7 times X, preferably 7X. Right? But if you put 7.x, that's fine. But from now on, you're going to write down 7X, right? Because in algebra, that's how we write multiply. A number times a variable is number variable. That's it. Number 2, order of operations. We consult the order of operations. The first thing is parentheses. Do you see any? No. Any exponents? No. Any multiplier divide? Yes. You have to deal with this. 4 times 2 is 8. Bring the rest down. 3 plus 8 is 11. The answer is 11. Rules don't change. Dot if it's right, slash if it's wrong. Each one should have a mark. Number 3. What is the order of operations again? First thing you look for is parentheses. Do you see any? Yes. Got to deal with that. 6 minus 3 is 3 minus 8 divided by 4. Okay. Any other parentheses? Any exponents? Multiply or divide? Oh, 8 divided by 4 is 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. The answer for number 3 is 1. You're all following this? Number 4. First thing you look for, parentheses. Do you see any? Yeah, more than one, right? Which one do I do first? What's the rule? Left to right, right? It's the one that comes first, left to right. So we're going to do this guy first. Inside of that guy, we now have a brand new problem, and we go, okay, do you see any other parentheses? Yes, we have to do 1 plus 2 first, which is 3. So it goes 6 divided by, I'm going to leave that in parentheses, leave the brackets, 4 plus, okay? Now, let's go back to that set of brackets. Inside of there, I have what? Do I have any more parentheses? Things that I can simplify? No. Do I have any exponents? No. Multiply or divide? Yes, there it is. 6 divided by 3 is 2. There the brackets are. 4 plus 2 is 6, and we're done. All right, we're now on this is Pre-Algebra lesson 1.3, which is evaluating expressions. Okay, evaluating expressions. We're on page 14. So here's the deal. You should all be on page 14 looking at the top of the page. Okay, here we go. This lesson really is dealing again with the order of operations. It's just now there's a lot of variables that you need to enter into the equation, or not the equation, the expression. I'll explain. Let me go like this. So 4y minus 15. And you'll see this. You've seen this before. I know you have. And it will say 4y equals 9. What that means, people, is that it says 4y minus 15 for y equals 9. Means that y is equal to 9. And they want you to simplify this. And so you've got to plug 9 into the expression in place of y, right? So here's the deal. This is important. I'm going to emphasize this a lot. Whenever you do this, whenever you plug in a variable for the, plug in a number for the variable, you always plug it in and put it in parentheses. Let me show you. You go like this. Instead of y right here, I'm going to go 4 times 9 minus 15. Do you see what I just did? I just replaced y with 9, but how did I replace it? In parentheses. It's important. It may not seem important to you right now, and I agree, it wouldn't seem important to you right now. Just trust me, whenever you do these types of problems, you plug it in parentheses. Okay? It's important. All right. So now we simply do the order of operations. Look for parentheses. Do you see any parentheses? I say parentheses. Do you see any grouping symbols that you need to simplify? No. Do you see any exponents? No. Do you see any multiply or divide? 4 times 9 is 36 minus 15 is 21. Does that make sense? Okay, so same thing as yesterday, except now we had variables and we're actually plugging in the numbers for the variables. Right? It's that simple. Let's look at let's do another sample here. Let's do B at the top of 14. It's 4 times, they have T. I hate it when they use T. Plus 3 plus 1 for T equals 8. You do that one for me. All right, here we go. So here's the deal. All I'm going to do is it says for T equals 8, I'm going to go plug in 8 wherever I see any T's, right? Could they have more than one T in there? They could. They could have more than one T in there. They don't right now. Okay, so I'm going to go plug it in. Now, watch what I do. I'm simply going to recopy this thing, but I have to put it in parentheses, so pay attention. Right? Up here. Eyes up here. 4 times. I'm going to copy everything, right? Instead of T, I'm going to put 8. How? How am I going to put the 8? How am I going to put it? In parentheses. Okay? There it is. Those should be identical, except for instead of the T, I've got an 8 in parentheses. Okay? Now, let's do the order of operations. We had to substitute the T for the 8 before we can start the order of operations. Now let's do it. Do you see any parentheses that need to be dealt with? Yes. 8 plus 3 is 11. Bring everything else down. Any other parentheses that need to be dealt with? Nope. Any other exponents? Any multiply or divide? 4 times 11 is 44 plus 1 is 45. How many of you got 45? Does it make sense? Okay, let's try another one. Let's try this one. 63 minus 5x 4x equals 7. Give you about 30 seconds to do that one. Go, you're watching up here. Even if you're not done, you got to watch. Here we go. Plug this baby in. Instead of x, I'm going to put how? In parentheses. I'm going to put 7 in parentheses. I'm going to replace the x with 7 in parentheses. So 63 minus 5 in parentheses 7. Do you agree that they're identical? Just now instead of the x, I have a 7. Okay? In parentheses. First thing I look for is parentheses that needs to be dealt with. Is there anything that needs? No. Any exponents? No. Multiply or divide? 5 times 7 is 35. Bring everything else down. 63 minus 35. What is 63? How many of you got 28? What happened? All right, I guess we'll try another one. Well, here, we'll do a harder one. Here we go. This is a big one. What do you do here? You plug in all the numbers for the variables, right? You plug them in parentheses. Just do it. Copy, just substitute them, and then you do the order of operations. All right, plug it in. So I'm going to simply rewrite everything with the variables, instead. I'm going to put their numbers instead of the variables, and then we're going to do it. So it goes 3 times, in parentheses, 2. Oops. 3 times 2 times 5, right? You see what I did there? Right? Does that make sense? Plus 10 in parentheses over 2. These two things are identical. Just instead of the variables, I have the numbers that they're equal to. Right? Does that make sense, Lauren? I need this. If I say right, I need this. I need you to be engaged. Okay, here we go. Do you see any parentheses that need to be dealt with? No. Do you see any multiplier exponents? No. Any multiplier divide? Yes, lots of it. Which one do I do first then? Left to right. 3 times 2 is? 6 times 5 is? 30. So these guys here make 30 plus 10 over 2. Any other multiplier divide? Yes. What is 10 divided by 2? 5. So 30 plus 5 is 35. How many of you got 35? Nice. We'll do one more really hard one. I say really hard. We'll see. It's not hard. Okay, here we go. Here's a good one. Let's do 2xy minus z for x equals 4, y equals 3, and z equals 1. Do that one for me now. All right, here we go. Plug it in parentheses, right? So it's going to go 2 times 4 times 3 minus 1, right? Do you see any parentheses that need to be dealt with? No, nothing inside of a parentheses, right? Nothing inside of parentheses that need to be dealt with. Do you see any exponents? Multiply or divide? Which one first? 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24 minus 1. What is 24 minus 1? How many of you got 23? Okay. There's one last kind that I'm going to show you today, and that's this. It's kind of a weird one. I'm going to show it to you. R plus S over 2 for R equals 13 and S equals 11. Why don't you think I like the letter S as a variable? It looks like a 5, right? I hate that. So we're going to try our best to make that look like an S. Okay. Go ahead and do it. Okay. So here's the deal. Before we do this, I'm going to show you something else. If I have this, and I were to ask you, eyes are up here, I gave you this, and I ask you to tell me the order of operations here. Here's the deal. First thing you look for is parentheses. Do you see any parentheses? Yes. Down here, do you see any parentheses? Yes. Have I talked to you about this already? Oh, nice. The invisible parentheses, right? Remember, you do the whole top, and then you do the whole bottom, and then you divide. Does that make sense? There is invisible parentheses there. Because if you read this to me, it says, isn't this 8 minus 4 divided by 10 minus 8? Yeah. Agreed? So really, couldn't I write that 8 minus 4 divided by 10 minus 8? Isn't that the same thing? Here's the reason. It's not the same thing. Because in this situation, what am I going to do first? On this problem right here, what would I do first? The 4 divided by 10. Is that what this implies? No. If I wanted this guy here, if I wanted this guy to look like that, what would I need to do? Put parentheses here. Does that make sense? And so that's why there really is parentheses there and there really is parentheses there. Anytime you have a fraction like that, there is invisible parentheses around the top and the bottom. You do the whole top, then you do the whole bottom, and then you divide. Okay? So up here, I'm going to ask, well, let's plug stuff in, right? So R, instead of R, I'm going to go 13 in parentheses plus 11 in parentheses over 2. Is there any parentheses that I need to deal with? Yes, there is, right? It's the invisible one that's up here. What's 13 plus 11? 24. 24 divided by 2 is 12. How many of you got 12 as your answer? So you're lucky. You probably didn't realize there was the parentheses up there, but there was. Anyway, make sense? Okay. I think you guys are ready to do the homework that I'm going to give you. So let me write it down. All right, here's your homework. It is page 16, 1 through 30 even, and, it's 16 to 17, and 34 to 43 even. Yep. There it is.